Lecture 37. Welcome to lecture 37. Today I am going to speak about ferroalloys. In today model I have posted one question which was based on the true false model about the ferroalloys, which can fetch you guys in knowing about ferroalloys. What is the importance of ferroalloys? As you know about steel production subject, to produce steel you need such and raw material, such as you need iron ore, you need source for carbon, and from the gang material associated with this ore there will be other elements coming with the hot metal. Now let me ask simple few questions that what is steel? Steel is an alloy of iron and carbon. Now what is stainless steel? Stainless steel is an alloy of iron and chromium, and this particular stainless steel is called I alloy steel. It means I alloy means the alloying addition percentage is greater than 15%. Even though stainless steel is steel, there will be very low carbon percentage, but it dominates alloying additions such as chromium, which is 18% in case of austenitic stainless steel. It means it is I alloy steel. Now coming to the ferroalloy, it is an alloy of iron and other alloying elements. Ferroalloy is an alloy of iron with other alloying additions which will be high percentage, just like I alloy steels. It will be greater than 15%. First point one need to remember basic difference between steel, stainless steel and ferroalloys. Now why do you need ferroalloys? For producing the steel you have pig iron which came from the blast furnace. If you are using in a liquid state pig iron, you use LD converter to produce the steel, and other processes alternatively you produce DRI or sponge iron. DRI stands for directly reduced iron, and along with the steel scrap and some addition of pellets, iron pellets, you produce steel using electric arc furnace, right? And these things are finding electric arc furnace and LD converter, finding scarcity about iron ore, either sponge iron or pig iron. Now it is thought about alternatives for the iron. There was smelt iron also, which was also used for producing a steel using electric arc furnace. And another point is ferroalloys. For example, if you want to add to bring out certain properties, mechanical properties such as high strength, you need to add titanium, you need to add vanadium. Is it possible to add titanium, vanadium in purest form? As an industrialist, one will think about, do you need to add purest form of vanadium and all these particular things? Answer is no. The alloying addition has importance regarding alloying additions in the form of vanadium, titanium. These elements finds and imparts certain mechanical properties. Similarly, how do you add? Do you effort adding purest form? It is economically not feasible. There will be a less profit. In that situation, industries started thinking about producing ferroalloys in the form of, if you want to produce stainless steel, you need high alloying addition of chromium. For example, austenitic stainless steel, you need 18% of chromium. How do you add? You will take, during the production of stainless steel, you will take ferrochrome, which will be combination of chromium and iron. Obviously, two things you need for the stainless steel. That is why you find this particular ferroalloys as important applications, as I gave you one stainless steel application. Similarly, there are many applications. As I proceed lecture, you will be understanding these things. This particular ferroalloys mostly situated near and around the integrated steel plant, and these particular plants are located near integrated steel plants, where for the production of iron and steels are happening, either steel making industry, steel foundries, allying addition of steel making such as secondary steel making units. At those particular industry near and nearby, these ferroalloys industries are located as geographical part. During the production of steel, ferroalloys has two important uses. One is it is used as deoxidizer, or it is used as allying addition. For example, stainless steel, you use ferrochrome for adding the chromium, whereas for the plain carbon steels, you add this particular ferromanganese to remove the oxygen dissolved in the hot metal in the form of MnO. It goes out. It means it is also called as good deoxidizer. All ferroalloys are assumed as good deoxidizers. Remember this particular point. And what is the percentage of ferroalloys? It depends upon the steel making process, whether you are producing the stainless steel, or you producing the superalloys, or you producing the special alloy steels. So this particular product quality is envisaged. It means imagined based on the what process is going to be adapted using ferroalloys as a raw material. This particular requirement may vary from application to application. Now coming to the ferroalloys, these things are broadly classified into two types. One is bulk ferroalloys, the other thing is noble or special ferroalloys. Under the bulk ferroalloys such as ferrochrome, ferrosilicon, ferromanganese are categorized. Under the noble or special alloys, ferrovanadium, ferrotungsten, ferrotitanium, ferromolybdenum and etc. are classified under the noble ferroalloys. More than 80% of ferroalloy steels are used for steel industries only. Now what about other 15%? For example, ferromanganese used as fluxing agent in welding industry and some construction industries. There are many applications are finding this particular ferroalloys are suitable. Now these are the main ferroalloys which I am going to discuss in the next few minutes. The bulk ferroalloys are namely ferromanganese, ferrochrome and ferrosilicon. Ferromanganese, this is how it looks like, ferrochrome and ferrosilicon. These are the pictorial information shown in figure 1. Now coming to the ferromanganese. This particular ferromanganese is nothing but alloy of iron with high content of manganese. Now how do you produce this ferromanganese? It is mainly taking off iron in the form of oxide such as Fe2O3 and manganese in the form of oxide MnO2. These are the concentrates or ores which are available in the earth crust. You will be taking as it is and you mix together, you eat it with the addition of carbon. Why do you need to addition of carbon source either in the form of coal or coke? Because the moment you add carbon reacts with oxygen in the form of CO, it goes out, manganese remain inside. Similarly with the Fe2O3, carbon reacts, CO go out, and Fe remain. This Fe and manganese will retain in the hot metal. It forms ferromanganese. It can be done either in the blast furnace or submerged arc furnace. This type of questions may appear in the gate exam also and viva questions also. It can be produced using blast furnace and submerged arc furnace. Remember these particular names clearly. Okay, these oxides undergoes carbothermic reduction process to produce ferromanganese. Carbon reacts with these things, oxygen goes out as a CO and let it remain ferromanganese form. This is basic principle. Using these raw materials, using this particular process, this is the principle used to produce the ferromanganese. Same things are followed for raw material and principle and process adapted. Which process is adapted is common for all ferroalloys production process. You need to differentiate those things only. Now these particular ferromanganese are classified into 3 types based on the standard high carbon ferromanganese, medium carbon and low carbon. High carbon means the carbon may varies from 6 to 8 percentage and the silicon is 1.5 percentage. The manganese is 70 to 8 percentage. It means very high alloy steel and rest is iron. And medium carbon steel, the carbon is 1 to 3 percentage. And low carbon steel, the carbon is 0.1 to 0.7 percentage. These things you need to remember. As I was mentioning, carbon is in high carbon, carbon in medium carbon, carbon in low carbon. Remember only this particular point. See, this silicon is common 1.5 and it is also you can rewrite 1.5, and this particular manganese is 70 to 80 and around 80 percentage. It is also common to remember. Okay, and this is about ferromanganese. Now coming to the ferrochrome. How do you produce ferrochrome? In ferrochrome alloy, it is also an alloy of iron and chromium. The core chromium will vary 50 to 70 percentage. This particular ferrochrome, what is the source for chromium is chromite ore is taken as chromium ore, rest is iron ore Fe2O3. And if this chromium percentage is 56 percentage, it has other name called charge chrome. Remember this particular point. There will be viva questions as well as gate questions, and usually your EST exam questions may appear on this particular point. And carbon content classifies or categorized based on the carbon content. Again ferrochrome also high carbon 6 to 8 percentage, medium carbon 3 to 4, low carbon 0.1 0.5, just like ferromanganese. It is also classified. Ferrochrome is produced by the process called electric arc melting process, where chromite is ore. The chromite is chromium source ore. The rest is iron manganese which was produced, used as it is, and chromium oxide which is nothing but chromite mixed together and melted in the electric arc furnace produce the ferrochrome. And this particular process is also carbothermic reduction process. Principle is, and which was happens at higher temperature. And chromite ore is reduced using coal or coke. That is why it is called carbothermic reduction process. And finally you will be getting the iron chromium alloy. You call it as a ferrochrome. And this particular charged chrome is produced using this electric arc furnace, where the chromium content with lower chromium content is called around 56 percentage is called charged chrome. Alternatively, you can also produce the high carbon ferrochrome, which is called from taking high grade chromium ore. Commonly it finds applications such as engineering steels, where you need chromium to iron ratio very high. So those particular sulfur, phosphorus, titanium other allying additions also important. It finds an application. And low carbon ferrochrome, this is high carbon ferrochrome and low carbon ferrochrome, and this particular processes are without causing the other undesirable variations. You use very low carbon content and produce that particular ferrochrome is called ferrochrome and low carbon ferrochrome. And this particular ferrochrome is low cost and alternative for metallic chromium, and you can use this particular low carbon chromium as addition of the chromium for the stainless steel also, super alloys also, and special application melting applications. Now other alloy called ferrosilicon. It is an alloy of iron and silicon. The silicon varies 65 to 95 percentage, and minor additions will be there, iron and aluminum and carbon. And ferrosilicon usually finds in the 4 different grades. One is standard grade using this much amount of silicon, and low aluminum, some amount of aluminum addition grade, and low carbon grade, and high purity only silicon and iron is with some amount of titanium. That particular grades of ferrosilicon alloys are produced. This is also using electric arc furnace. The source for the silicon is quartzite SiO2 and with some addition of the coke, and using submerged arc furnace you produce the ferrosilicon. Now coming to the conclusion about this lecture, bulk ferroalloys such as ferrochromium studies essential for understanding about the stainless steel production. Is it true or false? Please give your opinion. Thank you.